In this video, we are going to discuss for the 4 steps thinking process that you can apply in your chess game to improve your game, and you can take your game to the next level also if you watch this video till end. Whenever we begin with our chess game and we reach the position like this as shown in front of you, what are the basic thoughts that come to your mind? So in your mind, these thoughts come like, am I calculating correctly? What are my opponent's thoughts? Should I defend? Should I attack? Am I applying ideas and tactics in this game? But hold on, are these the right questions to ask? So in this video, we are going to look towards it. Alright, so what are these 4 step thinking strategies? Alright, so here we look towards the SWOT analysis. And now in the word SWOT, S stands for strengths, W stands for weaknesses, O stands for opportunities, and T stands for threats. So in this position, what are the moves that come to your mind? Alright, so let us say if you thought for playing d3 in this position. This is just an example. Try to understand what I want to say. Now, we apply the SWOT analysis in this position to determine whether your move played was a best move or not. Now, in the SWOT process, you can see that S stands for strengths. Now, what are the strengths that you achieve by playing the move d3? So, the major strength is that you gave a defender to the central pawn, which is a very nice point. You make a bishop develop towards both the diagonals, having two open diagonals, which is another advantage for you. You can see that you are attacking towards the two squares that are c4 and e4, means you are defending these two squares also, which is also another good point. Now here we look towards the second point, that is w for weaknesses. Now you can see in this move you played, what are the weaknesses that can be in this position. So how can you look towards the weaknesses? All right, now let us say you take back, when you play d3 in this position, you can see that this bishop becomes undeveloped because this bishop have no open diagonal on any of the sides that you can see. You can see that this knight is undefended, and black can have some tactics like pushing the pawn forward, bringing the bishop over here, which is a major threat. Also, you can see that if you don't play d3, then these two squares are protected by this pawn. You are protecting the knight also, which is very nice point. Anyways, let us say in this position we try something else, and that is bishop to b2. So bishop to b2 also comes to your mind. Now, once again we apply the SWOT process where we look towards the strengths. Now, what are the strengths we achieved after playing bishop to b2? So the main strengths that we achieve is that it protects the rook, protecting the knight at the same time. Also, in the upcoming move, we can remove this knight and can give a better open diagonal to the bishop. Also, we can see that this bishop helps in attacking towards the central pawn, which is a good advantage because you can try something like d4 and can attack this pawn. Now, let's look on the weakness that you achieved after playing this move. So, the very first weakness that must come to your mind is that this bishop is undefended. When you play bishop to b2, what becomes your main motive? Your main motive becomes that I am going to attack the opponent pieces along a long open diagonal, which is a very nice point. But this also creates a weakness since this bishop is not protected by any of our pieces, and that also creates a problem in the end game. Anyways, there is no problem in playing bishop to b2. Bishop to b2 is also a very nice move in this position. And now let's look on another weakness in this position. So the another weakness that is found is You can see for this pawn, this d2 pawn becomes undefended. Not undefended. You can see that this is protected by the queen and the knight at the same time. So we cannot say this as undefended, but you can see that this bishop was protecting this pawn. So you can see that you lost one defender at this pawn. So these are the weaknesses. Now, by comparing the strengths and weaknesses, try to answer in the comments that what is the best move, playing d3 or bishop to b2. Well, now let's look on another position which is in front of you, and black means your opponent. He decides to play knight to e4. So first of all, we apply the SWOT analysis. How we apply this? Now it's your opponent's turn and he played knight to e4. So here what you can do is you can try to find out the strength. Why black tried to play knight to e4, right? This is the question that you must ask yourself, right? But you can ask yourself another easier question, and that is, what is the strength of playing knight to e4? Why did he play this knight to e4? So one major strength of this knight to e4 is that it is controlling the center. Another important point for this knight is that it is controlling the 8 squares that you can see. Now you can see if it attacks our knight, then there is no problem since we can capture with the queen. If it attacks the pawn at c3, there is not any chances since we can capture from the bishop, and this knight is protecting the pawn, which is a very nice point. This knight cannot go over here since we have the pawn. So the main threats can be knight to f2 and knight to g3. Now why I call it the main threat? See, all the threats towards your king can be the main threat because that can be a sacrifice also, which you must be careful for. So these two squares are the main squares where knight can jump into it, can make your position weak. But you can see that if knight come over here, then it is protected by this pawn. If knight come over here, then it is protected by the rook. So this means that there are no major strengths for this knight. What black can do is he can just exchange your knight. Well, now we look for the weaknesses. If there is no major strength, means there can't be any weakness. And in any of the moves, you have to find out the strength and weaknesses before making any move. So in this position, you can see any weakness for this knight. Well, so the weakness can be, let's take it back. Earlier, this knight was controlling 8 squares that are highlighted in front of you. Okay, so these are all the 8 squares where this knight was controlling. Now first of all, you can see that black loses the chance of controlling the squares that were highlighted in front of you, right? And this knight is controlling another 8 squares that I told you. So these are the weaknesses, that it lost some control on the squares which the knight had, and you can take the advantage of it. Try to find out the move. Well, if you found the move knight to d7, then it is a very nice move and you understand the logic. It is creating the fork that you can see. Now, we look for the knight to d7. How do we apply this example? Knight was over here, this was controlling the square, but knight comes over here and it makes allowance to come into d7, creating a fork that you can understand. So this is the main law which you must understand and try to apply the SWOT analysis process. This will surely take your game to next level. Right. Now let's look on another amazing position. Once again, this is your opponent's turn, means black turn, and black confirms the move playing d4. So he plays d4 attacking your knight. That is the problem. Once again, we look at the strengths first of all. What is this pawn doing? The strengths are that it is attacking the knight, attacking the pawn at the same time. It is controlling the center, which is a very nice point. These are the strengths that you can see. So now let's look on the weaknesses which black obtained after playing this move. Well, let's take it back. You can see that this pawn was protecting these two squares, right? But now it is not protecting these two squares. Also, you must look for the weakness that the black pawn left behind before he could have played this move, right? And in this position, I have observed that many of the players, what they do is they immediately look after the threats and they look for protecting the piece. For example, black is attacking this knight. So what I can do is I can protect my knight. Many of the, many of the players do the same activity, which is incorrect. So we must look for the strengths and the weaknesses of each and every move, especially your opponent's move. Like you are looking over here, you looked at the strengths of this move. You also looked at the weaknesses of this move, and one of the weakness is that this pawn is undefended because earlier this pawn was here to help this pawn since the way of bishop was blocked, but black opens the way for the bishop. Also, the king is in the middle, which means that if you take the pawn with the bishop, then it is giving the check. It also means that you are attacking the rook at the same time. King goes to f8 and you capture the rook. So this is how you can apply the SWOT analysis. Once again, if you apply the SWOT analysis, you can become a better player. Now in this position, if you doubt that black can capture this knight, then there is no problem that we can capture from the bishop, developing the bishop, having a open range that you can see. Alright, now let's look on another example. But before that, please do subscribe my channel since it motivates me a lot. Now in this position, white plays knight to g5 and then comes the reply f6. What you can see in this position? It is attacking the knight, right? That's correct. Now let's look on the strength. One strength was that it is attacking the knight. It is controlling the center by adding the defender at the same time. Now let's look on the disadvantages, means the weaknesses. Before playing f6, it was controlling these two squares, but now black loses the control. Another is that this diagonal is completely empty, which means that you can attack the enemy king by this diagonal, means taking the advantage of it by playing something like bishop to e2 attacking this, right? But before that, before making any of the sacrifice or threats, you must think twice. Like I was thinking for bishop to e2. If I play bishop to e2, then black can capture, then we capture the pawn and king goes over here. Now what you can see in this position, you can only see that we destroyed the king position. That's all. But you can see that we have gave up the knight, and knight was a very important piece in this position, right? So we must double check our thoughts. And in this position, if we try something like bishop to b5 giving a check, which is a forcing move, all right, but you ignore the threat. This is the threat, you ignore the threat giving. Now you can see that black can play c6 attacking the bishop. Now it is a double attack, which means that ignoring the threat was a mistake. So we must never ignore the threats.